In this video, we will demonstrate how to cut plan profile sheets in ORD. Now, there's a couple things that we need to do beforehand in order for the sheets to get created properly. First thing that we need to do is reference in the files that we want to see. So if I go to my attach tools and it loads up references, we see that we have these particular reference files attached. And whenever our sheets get created, we will see those particular reference files in those sheets. The other thing that we need to do is underneath our view attributes, I'm going to turn on constructions. And this is in order for us to see those shapes whenever we lay those out along the alignment and also the profile. Now, what we need to do next is actually open up a profile view. So to do that, let's go ahead and hold our right mouse button down. Actually, I'll zoom in first to my alignment, which is Route 54. And then I will go ahead and hold my right mouse button down and go to View Controls, to Views, Plan Profile. You will get this box that says Open a Dynamic Profile View. Go ahead and click on OK to that. I will go ahead and select my alignment that has the profile attached to it. Now it's going to say select or open view. I will go ahead and select view number 4. And now you will see the profile that's attached to that particular alignment that you selected. So if I go back into view 1, I will go ahead and zoom out. Once we have those two opened up, now we can go to our named boundary tool and actually go through there and start creating those shapes in order for us to create the actual plan sheets. Next thing that we need to do is go to the Plan Production tab, and let's go ahead and go to the Named Boundary tool. In here, we're going to go ahead and create our civil plan portion of the sheet first. So let's go ahead and select the one that says Civil Plan. Underneath the drawing seed, we're going to select this one at the bottom and it says Design, D-Size, Plan Profile, Plan View. This will create that top shape for the plan portion of it. So go ahead and select it. Next thing that we need to do is give it what size that you want. And for this example here, I'm going to use a 50 scale sheet. So I'll select the one that says 1 inch equals 50 foot. The name, I'm going to leave it as is. You can rename that if you wish. If you do rename that, don't use special characters like the star symbol, the and symbol, the $sign. Don't use any special symbols in there or it won't create the sheets like you want it to. Same thing for this name right here, which is the group name. We're not going to name that. That is actually going to get named from the alignment that you select. We could put in a start and stop location if we wanted to. We're not going to worry about that for this example. This through here where it says length, left offset, right offset, overlap, and chord boundary, leave those as is. Do not mess with those because those are being pulled from this detail scale that you select. And if you start tweaking these numbers, you won't get the results you want it to on your sheets. The sheets will be messed up. So do not mess with these particular values here. And for this particular option that we're doing, we definitely want to uncheck this one right here that says create drawing. We're going to go ahead and leave that unchecked. Now if we're ready to go through here, we're going to go ahead and select our path. We're going to identify our path. Now we'll zoom in and I will select that alignment. I'll go at the very beginning of the stationing and you'll see my ports being laid out accordingly. We're going to go ahead and lay out 3 ports or 3 shapes for 3 particular sheets. So if that's what we want, we'll go ahead and left click to accept it. Go ahead and left click to place it. Now we have our plan shapes for our plan profile sheets. Now we basically need to do the same thing but for the profile. So I will go ahead and open up view number 4 again. And inside of here, we're going to use the same tool. We're going to go ahead and go back to the name boundary tool. This time I'm going to change it to civil profile. My drawing seed, I'm going to change it to Design D-Size Plan Profile View, and this will be the bottom section of your plan profile sheet. We're going to use the same scale, which is 1 inch equals 50 foot. Name, doesn't really matter. Just like I said, just don't use special characters inside the name. Don't worry about the group. We are going to use this method right here that says from plan group, because it already knows that there's shapes that you already assigned to it. It's going to use those same shapes from point A to point B for each one of those shapes in order to get the same station limits from it. The rest of these options down below here, we should not have to tweak except for the vertical exaggeration. We may need to change that depending on what scale that you select. If it's for a 50 scale sheet, we want that set to 5. If it's a 20 scale, we would set that to 2. If it was a 100 scale, we would set it to 10. And if it was a 200 scale, we would set that to 20. But this is a 50 scale sheet, and we're going to leave it set to a vertical exaggeration of 5. We are also going to uncheck this box that says Create Drawing. So now if we're ready, it's going to say down below here, Identify Profile View. I will go ahead and select that alignment. And now you'll see that it already created those 3 shapes out there for you, because it already knows that there's plan shapes already created. So it's using basically those same station limits from that in order to create those shapes for the profile view. So if that's good, we'll go ahead and left click to accept it. And now we will see those shapes in the profile view. Now we can go through there and use those shapes that are created in order to create the plan profile sheets. So now I will go back to this little icon right here that says Name Boundary. And we see inside of here that we have a plan group and a profile group. And if we expand both of those out, you're going to see each one of those shapes that are inside there. That represents each one of those shapes. I'll go ahead and shrink that back up. Before we actually produce the sheets, I'm going to toggle on this little option right here that says Show the Create Drawing Dialog. That way it shows me the dialog box of all the settings before I go through there and change anything. So now if we're ready to create the sheets, I'm going to go ahead and go over this plan group right here. Go ahead and right click over it, and you're going to get some options. You can either create a plan drawing, which is basically a full plan, or you can create a plan profile drawing like what we're doing here. And there is also another option that says create alternating plan profile drawings, which what that would do is actually create a plan drawing, and then it would create another drawing and sheet model for the profile, and then it would do another plan profile for the next sheet. We're going to use this example right here that says create plan profile drawing. And since we had this little toggle right here checked on, we're going to get this box right here that gives us all the parameters to look at before we produce the sheet. Now in this dialog box, we shouldn't have to change very many things, but we do need to check a few things. One option that we have right here is the 1 sheet per DGN file. If we want to create these into separate DGN files, we could do that. We're not going to do that for this example, but if you wanted to do that, that's what it would do. And what is going to happen, either if you use this option or the option that we're going to use right now, where it's going to create the actual sheets inside the file, it's actually going to create 2 different models for each shape. Number one is going to create a drawing model, and the other one that's going to create is a sheet model, which basically a drawing model is a clipped out area from the default model, which is right here. Then after that, it'll create a sheet model, which that's the one that had the border on there. So we'll kind of show that how that works here in just a second. This all looks good here for this is the plan portion of it, and this is the profile portion of it. Since these are a 50 scale sheet, I will go through here and make sure everything is set to 1 to 50. So let's change that to 1 to 50 there. This scale right here, I want to leave it set to 1 to 1, so we'll leave it as is. This one here, I want it to 1 to 50. That's good there. So now I will go to my profile portion of it, and let's change that one from 1 to 50. My annotation group, I do want to change that one to 1 to 50. This one here, I do want to leave it set to 1 to 1, and this one right here is 1 to 50. So after I kind of review that, everything should be good to go. So now I will go ahead and select OK to create the sheets. And if you watch down in your status bar here, you'll see that it's going to go through there and create the sheets. And of course, the more sheets you have, the longer it's going to take. And basically, like I said, what it's going to do is create a drawing model and a sheet model for each one of these. And that's the way Bentley has this particular name boundary tool created. And now once the sheets are created, you will see the profile portion of it and also the plan portion of it. We see that we have the border attached to it also. So on this one here, if we go back to our home tab and go to models, you're going to notice that it created 3 sheets, which are these 3 sheets right here. Right now we're in sheet number 3. If I double click on sheet number 2, we see this right here. And if we go to sheet number 1, it's going to look just like this right here. It also created these drawing models. So if we go to one of the drawing models, let's say plan 1, you're going to see this particular shape right here, which is basically just a clipped out area from our default model. So if I go back to my default model, that would represent this shape right through here. This particular shape right here. If I go back to it, that's this shape right here. And basically what the drawing model is intended for, the way Bentley has this design, is in your default model, this is where all your plan graphic stuff was designed to go. Like your geometry, your line work, stuff like that. And then in your drawing model, this is where all the other information goes for like dimensioning and notes and text and stuff like that. Basically stuff that you don't want on your default model, that's where that particular information would go. And then of course your sheet model is just that information referenced to this particular sheet. And it's the same thing for your profile. If we go to one of our profile ports, we're in sheet number 1, so I will go to profile number 1. It's basically the same thing. So anything that you would add to here, it would reflect in, of course, the sheet that it is attached to. The only thing that you should have to add to your sheet is your title block information, which we'll talk about that in a separate video. So basically your sheet model is an output from your default model and also your drawing model. And anything, like I said, anything you add to that particular drawing model, it's going to reflect in that sheet accordingly. So just to kind of show you that real quick, if I go to sheet number 1, or excuse me, I go to plan number 1, the drawing, and let's say I come in here and add some text. Just use my drawing tool and I'll add some text. Adding some text. I'll just change that to 0.1 just to kind of show you what's going on. I'll add that text. And now if I go back to sheet number 1, you'll see that that particular information there is, of course, inside of here. So anything that you add to the drawing model, it's going to reflect in your sheet model. Now, that is kind of the demonstration of how to create plan profile sheets inside of this drawing. This time we will go through here and actually create plan profile drawings, not in this file, but we'll go ahead and create them as separate files. So if we go back to our name boundary option here, and I will go through there and toggle on this one that says show the create drawing dialog. I will expand out my plan groups, and then over Route 54 I will go ahead and right click over it, and go to this one that says create plan profile drawing. In here, I want to give it whatever name. I'll just leave it as this right here. Like I said, you can name it however you want. Keep in mind this is going to be the name of the files as it produces it. So this first one would be named Plan 4, the next one would be named Plan 5. If you want to name those however you want, that's fine. Just like I said, don't use any special characters. I am going to toggle this one right here that says one sheet per DGN. So it's going to go through there and create a DGN file, or one sheet per file. So this sheet right here will have a plan model to it. It'll have a profile model to it, which will be basically 2 drawing models, and then one sheet file that has those 2 drawing models referenced into it. Then through here, like I said, these were 50 scales, so I will go ahead and change those to 50. That's 50, that's 50. This one here needs to be 50, and this one here needs to be set to 50 also. Okay, so we're all good there. Go ahead and click on OK to process it. And now it'll go through there and actually create separate sheets for each one of those. Now, whenever you're doing that, make sure you have it set to a point in your file that you want to save it, because it'll prompt you to check the file that you currently have opened up. It's going to prompt you to check it back in. So make sure you're at a certain point that you want to save it if you're going to create them out into separate sheets. And that's the good thing about this tool, is you can go through there and create your ports like what we did there beforehand and get those all laid out the way you want them. And then later on, if you want to create your sheets, then you can create your sheets. Or if you mess up, you can always go back and create those sheets accordingly. So you don't have to do it right at that time. You can create your ports for your profile and also your plan, and then produce the sheets later on if you want to. And it's going to prompt you to update the server copy for the last one that got created. And I will go ahead and check these files in, because of course this is the file that we was in. These are the 2 files that got created, so I definitely want to check those in. Which of course, checking in means you are saving that file. And of course, once we're in it, we see this particular sheet right here. And if we go to the Home tab and we go to Models, you're going to see that it has one sheet file, which is this one right here, and then it's going to have a drawing model and also a profile drawing model for each one of those. So if I click on one of those, here's the actual plan drawing model, and here's the profile drawing model. And of course, that information is referenced to your sheet model. But now you have each one of those into separate sheets in the same folder from where you had your other file that you were working with. So if I go back now, and I'll go ahead and do a file open, I'll browse to find it, you'll see that it created these 3 sheets right here: Plan 4, Plan 5, and Plan 6. I'm going to go back to my test file that I was working with, which is this one right here. I will check this one in. So that's a basic overview of how to create plan profile sheets in ORD, either inside of the same file that you're in, or if you want to create those into separate DGN files, that's the process of doing it.